The worst financial decision of your life might also be the one that saves it. Not because crypto is magic, not because someone got lucky, but because the system you trusted your entire adult life was already bleeding you dry, and you were too comfortable to notice. Let's talk about what actually happened. In 2019, the average American between 25 and 44 had less than $27,000 in savings, not investments, savings. Meanwhile, inflation was quietly running at 2.3% annually, eating that number alive. Your 401k was growing at a pace that statistically would not make you wealthy. It would make you survivable. There's a difference. A $500,000 retirement account at 65 sounds impressive until you realize that's roughly $2,000 a month for 20 years, before taxes, before inflation, before the medical bills that statistically devastate people in their final decade. You are not building wealth. You are managing slow loss. That's the part no one at the bank ever tells you. Now here's where crypto enters, and not the way you think. In January 2020, Bitcoin was trading at $7,200. Most financial advisors were calling it a Ponzi scheme, a bubble, digital tulips. The same economists who didn't predict the 2008 housing collapse were on television laughing. Then the pandemic hit. The Federal Reserve printed $3.3 trillion in 2020 alone, not over a decade, 1 year. The M2 money supply, the total measure of money in circulation, expanded by 25% in 12 months. 25%. That means every dollar you had saved became worth roughly 25% less in purchasing power, almost overnight. But Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million coins, written into its code, unchangeable. While the Fed was printing, Bitcoin's supply didn't move. And by December 2020, that $7,200 coin was worth $29,000. That's not luck. That's math meeting monetary policy. Here's what most people miss, though. The ones who made real money in that window weren't just the ones who bought. They were the ones who understood why it was moving. They understood that crypto wasn't an investment in a company or a currency. It was a direct bet against a system structurally incentivized to devalue your savings. That understanding changed everything, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start doing math in different places. You look at your rent versus the asset value of your city. You notice that home prices in major metros rose over 40% between 2020 and 2022. You notice your salary didn't. You notice your parents bought a house at 3x their annual income, and you're being quoted 9x. You notice the financial advice designed for their generation doesn't compute for yours. And then something shifts. Not financially, psychologically. You stop trusting the default path. Not out of anger, out of evidence. This is the layer most people miss when they talk about crypto. It's not just an asset class. It's a financial literacy trigger. The people who go deep, who learn about hash rates, halving cycles, liquidity, on-chain data, come out the other side with a fluency in macroeconomics that most MBA graduates never develop. Not because crypto is the answer, because it forces the questions. What is inflation actually doing to your net worth right now? What is your savings account's real return after inflation? Why do asset prices rise while wages stagnate? These questions don't get answered in high school. They don't get answered at the bank. They live inside the rabbit hole that crypto forces open. Now here's where most people stop the story. They say crypto saved them because the number went up. Bitcoin hit $69,000 in November 2021. And yes, the math was violent in your favor. A $10,000 position in early 2020 was worth roughly $95,000 at peak. That's not a small thing, but that's not the real story. The real story is what happened after.
Bitcoin dropped from $69,000 to $16,000 in 13 months. That same $10,000 position, worth $22,000 at the bottom. Still up, but psychologically brutal, a 77% drawdown. The people who bought the narrative without understanding the mechanism sold at the bottom. They felt foolish. They walked away calling it a scam. The people who understood what they owned, they bought more at $16,000 because nothing about the fundamentals changed. The money supply was still expanding. The 21 million cap was still in the code. The halving, the programmatic event that cuts Bitcoin's new supply in half roughly every 4 years, was still coming in April 2024. And historically, every single halving cycle has preceded a significant price expansion within 12 to 18 months. That's not speculation. That's a documented pattern across 3 previous cycles. So here's the uncomfortable part, the part that should follow you out of this video. Crypto didn't save anyone's financial life by being easy. It saved it by being difficult enough to force a decision. Learn the actual rules of the game being played, or keep trusting the people who profit from your ignorance of it. Your bank is not your partner. Your 401k manager collects fees whether the market rises or collapses. The system was not designed for your wealth. It was designed around it. That's not paranoia. That's the business model. The question was never really whether crypto is right for you. The question is what you're building with if the foundation was always sand. Because the most dangerous investor isn't the one who lost money in crypto. It's the one who never questioned why they were losing money before it. The game was rigged before you ever sat down.